in the interest of time, I'm going to try and go through this fairly quick. I think what Sanjay and the group were showing earlier about publishing data to the shop floor and having operators look at unit-based instructions, provide feedback like that we just talked about. One of the key elements there is to allow the operator to comment back to the engineering group or the manufacturing group about issues that they're seeing on the shop floor, right? Specifically to the work instructions that are being displayed to them. Or any kind of, I mean, you have hot issues, which are, you know, situations where the line's about to go down. You have test failures where something is not really working. But then you also want to open a channel of communication between the operator and the manufacturing group about any issues that they're seeing on the shop floor. So that's what I'll specifically focus on now. And this is a new feature we've added. Oh. Right, and the feature that's in discussion today is called change request. So how do I get the change requested by the operator on the floor back into the authoring tool, which is assembly planner, so that everyone is made aware of it? There's a workflow to it. People can fix it, update work instruction, push it back again, so that these kind of issues are covered on the line. So that's what I'll focus on first, and then I'll get into a project that we did at one of the CNH plants, Burlington's just east of here. And we'll kind of show you what features we implemented for that particular shop floor implementation, which I think will resonate with most of the kind of setups that we have today. So let me get into the collaboration piece here. So what I have up here is the shop floor viewer. I think most of you are familiar with this. So I'm going to sign into a unit. So let me just sign into the second unit. And you know, most of you are aware of this. What I see right now is the process tree for that particular station. I'm going to go and click on an activity for that station, sign on to it. And here are my instructions for that particular unit, right? So what I've just done now is I've selected a station, an operator position, a particular unit serial number, which is a model, which has a specific model. And for that combination, I'm looking at work instructions. So for those who have or have not seen this, this is configured work instructions down to the operator on that line. At this point, you know, if I have an issue that I need to report to, you know, we were talking about fat board and hot issues where I can file something that's critical, that's going to stop my line and cause and create an issue like that. But if I want to make some corrections to the overall and communicate that back to the engineer, how do I do it? And for that, we've added this module called change request, right? So I can just go in here and do a change request. And what it'll do is it'll basically take a screen print of my work instruction. It'll allow me to add some notes, right? Issue with image something. It'll let me set a status. You know, it's not an issue with an image. If it's something more severe, I can set like a severity value on it. And then I can even go down and figure out which particular work step within that activity is causing this issue, right? So I can go down and associate that work step to my change request. I can come down to the image itself and I can annotate it. You know, I can add you know, particular call out. I can type in some text and so on, and basically have everything completed on my end so that I can now save this as an, okay, click on that. I can now save this as an issue for the engineer to review, right? So if I do a save, it takes me back to the instruction. I can keep working. But now on the assembly planner side, which is my authoring environment where the engineer has been, this is the engineer's view, or this is the engineer's authoring world. I can come in here and I can refresh, and the issue that I just added, number 7 right there, is now posted in assembly planner, right? So this is the authoring environment. Again, if I'm going too fast, let me know. But this is where I create the data. I create my activities, my work steps, I associate my images, I do my time studies and line balancing, right? So this is the environment. But now I have an open communication from the shop floor to us saying that someone filed this issue. They filed it for this particular model at this station. This was the operator. This was the activity. This was the work step. And this is the description of what they filed, right? So all of that information that I want to capture from the shop floor is now available inside Assembly Panel. What do I do as an engineer? I can go look at that activity, right? So I can open that activity and there it is, right? The change request that just came in from the shop floor is now available to me. We've now added a new tab called shop floor feedback, open to comments on what it should be called. We can rename it, but it's called shop floor feedback. And here's the change request that just popped up from the shop floor, right? If I want to take this change request and now put it in my work instruction moving forward, I can do an import image. And what it'll do is it'll open my my image editor here within the application, and it'll let me edit that image if I want to make more edits to it, right? Just like here, and add notes or whatever that I want to. But now this image is available for me to use in my work steps. All right, I can insert a new work step. Hey, pay attention to this the next time you start doing these activities. Make sure this is not happening, and I can just publish this data back to the shop floor for the operator to look at, right? So this was an important piece that was, I think, we were missing. And we had hot issues. There were obviously issues on the line. We had alerts that we could send to folks through email, through SMS. But this is more tied to how to improve the overall instruction that we're publishing to the line and let people come in and make those comments, right? And it's quick, you know, here's the image. Let me add my notes. Let me add a new work step, publish it back. The next time anyone opens this, it's out there for people. So this was a big feature that we worked on, right? The other thing that I wanted to show, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it, was it's not only the static image that's published out there. I could go and do this on the CAD file. And I don't know how my phone's going to behave with the CAD file, but let's see if it loads up. So come on. All right, there it is. So I could, you know, I could go down to a specific, you know, section of the CAD file, you know, explode it, get down to my bolts and nuts. And then I could just do a markup here, just like I'm doing with the change request on the static image, right? Take a snapshot. I can annotate that snapshot, right? I can you know, draw my circle wherever I want to. And I can now push this just like I did to the static image down to the shop. So this is another capability that's available now. It's not only text communication, but you can take images from the shop floor. Now, of course, I didn't have to do a CAD if I had a camera hooked up, which I think this one does. I don't know if it's the right.
Yeah, this camera should be able to get it.
Yeah, so I could, yeah, it's.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I should be able to take my own picture and send it to as a change request, right? Hey, why are you making me do this?
Because it's fun.
I put me. All right, but yeah, so we can do this, right? And same thing with the video. So if someone is reporting an issue, that could have just been a video that I captured on the shop floor and send it back to the MEs to review, right? So I think this is a great communication back from the shop floor to the engineering group, which we've recently added. So that was, I didn't want to go into PowerPoint today, but now I am going to go into PowerPoint and explain the Burlington project. And I'll try to go through it quick in the interest of time because we have another presentation right after this. So as Kelly was mentioning earlier, we did this pilot about a year and a half back. This was right during COVID. There were a lot of issues with the influx of a lot of new folks coming in to do the operations on the line. So one of the things that they were facing were issues with quality. Back then, parts were not still an issue, but now they are. And so one of the objectives that was given to us is how do I streamline communication between quality, manufacturing, and logistics, right? So we have assembly planner that's doing manufacturing. We have quality, those are work steps within assembly planner, logistics is right? So these are the three key components that we wanted to work on with CNH and get through this quality issue that we're having. So, you know, we have engineering changes already in the system. So we are aware of NBOM edits. This, I think, is key, and I just want to spend a minute on this. Having the ECOs go through our system, or even a notification of the ECOs through our system, I think is huge in terms of letting the ME know about what changes to make to their process because the MBOM is changing. And one of the things that Sanjay was showing with the consumption workbench and the capability of the CAD in it, it makes it very easy for you to know what's the difference and what do I add, what do I delete, what do I change, right? So those capabilities are now, with the MBOM being early in the system, give you that warning ahead of time so you can update your process accordingly. And that's a direct impact to quality, having the right parts, right tools being presented to the operator at the time of manufacturing is important, right? So why ProPlanner? Because we were already doing ECOs, we were doing MBOMs, we were doing line balances, we were scheduling orders, and we were doing PFEP, right? So we were the right setup for this, right? I'll run through this quick. So prior to implementing shop floor viewer, this area that we were looking at, the operator was had a clipboard with a build ticket, list of units that they're supposed to build that day. Pick up the clipboard, look at, oh, what am I supposed to build next? Mentally prepare myself for that model, that particular option configuration that's coming, but it's still a manual paper. Every time that schedule changes because of part shortages or some other unit being offline, someone has to give them a new clipboard. So their clipboard was not new paper. So the clipboard had a whole stack of sheets on, and they have to keep writing on it. There's a build ticket stuck on the unit with a configuration of the unit, a barcode. And so people would look at it and make sure that, okay, this is the right engine or this is the right piece that I need to work on. So there's another paper there. Another thing that was unique to this area was there were some critical components being placed onto the unit, right? They had a special area for those critical components. They pick up their clipboard, walk up to that component, match it with the option code that's on their build, and write it on that paper. So another tribal knowledge plus manual process where someone has to make sure that the right component is on the right unit. When everything is done, they strike off. If there are issues, they call the guy, no communication channels there. And once all of this is done, they walk up to a desktop and type in some quality data. So visually, that's what it looks like. So there's that build ticket on the unit. There's the build list for the day where they're writing stuff down. And those are those critical components with big placards stuck on top, which also have to be managed with the right part numbers in front of the right piece there, and where they have to work through that. All SOPs or work instructions are paper-based, and there's a quality terminal far away from them where they have to input all this information. So the ME manager, who's now the plant manager there, really pushed on, he showed this to us and said, this is what we're doing, this is what I need to do, right? I don't want any clipboards on the line. I don't want any yelling to the line leads, right? I want real-time reporting of what's going on. I don't want them to have these old folders with 2D drawings on it. I want them to have access to the latest 3D data that we have invested in and created all these models. I don't want any tribal knowledge. I want the system to let the operator know what to do and what not to do. And I'll touch upon that a little bit, the experience-based. I don't want them to guess the torque. I want us to control what torque values they have to work on, and I want an alert system that lets everyone know what's going on, right? So what did we do? We replaced the build ticket with our build list, which is our shop floor view that I was showing of the units that they have to build on each day. If you see on the right-hand side there, so this is CNA's very highly option configured, option-driven content, right? Each unit is like exactly different from the other. So to know those critical options that we are presenting to the operator for that station was of a lot of value to them, right? And the option description, option code, and why and a little detail about the family of the option, those are things that are important to them. So we started displaying that information right on the build list. So you click on the unit, you see a specific set of options that are for that unit at that station. And then the operator can make a judgment based on that. So we did all that. And so none of those boxes on a pick sheet or build list that they have to go through and figure out what options are here. We replaced the clipboard with allowing them to set options that are not necessarily for that station. So if I'm working at this station and I'm working on the engine, the way I leave the wires on the engine is critical to a station that's maybe 20 stations down the line. So based on the option, I need to know what that 20 station down option is. So not only am I adding station options that are relevant to my station, I'm also adding options relevant to stations that are further down the line. Okay. So this is something that we weren't doing. We were by default adding the options that are relevant based on the activities that I have to perform at that station. right? So we started allowing them to add options that are further down the line, so the operator is aware of how to act and how to work. And again, this may be unique to CNH, but you could do this through activities, you could do this through consumption. But there's now the ability for you to add options that are not just in your area, but further down the line. Critical parts, right? So we started, we have consumption shown to the operator right as they're performing work. No need for you to write down the critical part, right? We can highlight the critical part of the work instruction. We can, through images, through text, and we can confirm that once you complete that activity or that work step that you have indeed consumed that critical part, right? So all of that paperwork with them writing things down, taking all that away and just having the shop floor viewer drive critical part conversion. Unit offline. So this has been happening a lot of late, where due to part shortages, units will be pulled offline, although they have already entered the line at the prior station, right? So we allow on the shop floor viewer for the operators on the line to go in, or the line needs to go in based on roles, obviously, and mark certain units as offline. Why is this important? I mean, as soon as you mark it as offline, we highlight the unit with a separate color. We can add text as well to show that this unit is offline. Because I could have a station that's, a sub-assembly station that's way down the line, and the guy may have already started working on this, right? Or the guy may want to start working on this. By notifying everyone that this unit is offline, we let them decide whether that work needs to be completed or they can move on to another unit and start working. So this is important for us to show the operators on the line. But what is most important is we are preventing them from printing these schedules again and again and handing them over to the clipboards, right? So just we're highlighting units on the bill list that is for the operator as to what's gone offline because of whatever problem. Same thing with sequence updates. I think this is a common problem. Because of the shortages or because of people not showing up, you might want to move units up and down. Very easy to do on the shop floor now. You don't have to go back and re-import it. You're allowed to just move units up and down within the application. So this was that whole tribal knowledge experience based. So one of the things that CNH Burlington was very keen on is, hey, my experienced operator is not going to want to click through every activity, right? They will sign into the unit and they just want to start working. But I do want to alert them about activities that require input, whether it's parts, tools, a scan, whether it's a failure, a quality check or whatever. So what we did was we gave the operator role certain privileges, right? If I'm a new person, I must click through every activity, even though there's no input required, right? I need to validate that I've done this. If I'm an experienced person, I only need to click on those red ones, right? And confirm that I've completed them. And those are the ones that require an input, how many parts, quality checks, or whatever it may be. And where we are heading to with this feature is, rather than us setting roles and certain properties of the operator, we want to find the data that the operator has spent time on within shop floor viewer and make that decision ourselves, right? This person has worked at this station on this model of these options the last 2 years, 1 year. Or this person has worked on these kind of units, last 50 units, right? So that person has enough experience to not have to go through every activity. Whereas this person just started a month back, we must force them to go through every activity. So that's called the whole skill matrix, or skill-based competency matrix, as they call it. So right now it's a yes or a no. I'm experienced, so I have to only do the critical ones. I'm not experienced, so I need to click through it. Again, quality network, I think we showed them go. So rather than paper, everything is available on the screen. Pick up your tablet and put in on your quality data. Part shortage, this is another one. As folks mark, and I think there are many ways of doing this in the system, but as there are issues with parts on the line, we are displaying to the operator at each station that these are the parts that are critical, right? More than the operator, it's the line leads for certain areas who need to know this before the unit actually arrives at their station. So we started marking those components as bad and alerting them ahead of time before the unit actually arrives at the station. This is more for PATP. So this kind of goes back, if you're having a part shortage, it probably wasn't picked. on the kit that was supposed to be delivered to the line. So we have a skip part dashboard, which is constantly being updated by the logistics group to show which parts are short on the kits that they picked, which units are short, and a little more detail about when it was done and so on, right? So the skip part dashboard is something that shows the line as well, the line needs as well, that these are units that are having less parts being delivered to the line. Of course, the add-on that we talked about earlier. And then the last thing is the capture issues. This is prior version of the application. Now it's a lot what I just showed you earlier. So earlier you had to take the image, but now you can do a screen capture and start reporting the issues. So that's essentially all the features that we went down implementing for the Burlington implementation. So at the end, this is victory moment. No clipboard, no need to print schedules. Trying to minimize the tribal knowledge, capturing data qualities on the same system where you're looking at work instructions. So you could go down to the activities and point out issues that you're facing. You don't need to write down any part numbers. You can capture actual time and on alerts, so we don't have to yell for support. And then the end goal is the CAD viewer, which we now have for the operators to look at actual CAD models if they have questions on certain activities. So I went through fast. I think I'm done. Yep, thank you.
Are there any quick questions here? Yeah, did you?
Yeah. So on the CAD viewer, on the shop floor viewer, is it possible to measure the parts?
I think so. I think that I don't know if
Can you repeat the question for the online?
He's asking, can I measure the part details on the shop floor viewer? I don't know if we have that as a
Yes.
Okay, all right, we can show you that. Yes, there is a possibility of measuring. Yes.
I wanted to make sure that the bill line, like on the bill drawing, not all the measurements will be
in the work instructions. Yeah.
So
yep.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think I don't know which icon that is, but we can show that to you later. There's a way of measuring it.
Are there quick questions for Bondo? All right, thanks. Good job.
All right, thank you.